There are 18 joys, and joys in Philippians. It is the book that talks about joy the most in the New Testament. I once went to a church in a rural area in mainland China. They were deeply influenced by the Crying Rebirth sect. They prayed in a crying voice. Whoever can cry is spiritual. There is no joy in the church. I shared the joy of Philippians right then. Colossians is the last of Paul's 4 theological peaks. The first 3 are Romans, Galatians, and Ephesians, and it clarifies the truth of dying and living with Christ. The most famous verse from 1 Thessalonians is 5:16, "Rejoice always and pray without ceasing." Again the theme of joy, and how to be joyful, pray without ceasing. 2 Thessalonians mentions 2 kinds of problematic people, the self-exalted and the lazy. Including the liars mentioned in Titus, there are 3 kinds of people who influence the testimony of the church. Paul talked about his own pastoral experience. The most famous verse in 1 Timothy is 1:15, "I am chief of sinners." This is a sign of Paul's great spiritual maturity. In Philippians he can't help boasting a little, and in 1 Corinthians he begins calling himself the least of the apostles. And in 1 Timothy, he has realized that he is the greatest of sinners. It was this kind of understanding that made him receive greater grace from God. 2 Timothy is the most depressing book of Paul, old and homeless, besieged on all sides. Dan 4:17 is also the verse where Paul gained the most from the Lord, "Only the Lord stands beside me and gives me strength." In the second half of Paul's epistles, many people read only personal and divine things. That was just a rough read. When reading the later epistles, you must remember the word church. The process of our faith can be divided into 2 stages in the most general way, the stage of self-centered and the stage of church-centered. Although many believers come to church every week, they only care about their relationship with God and know little about the truth of the church. I knew a sister who was the only master's degree in the church at that time. When she first believed in the Lord, she looked down on the co-workers in the church. I myself, too, have only realized for a long time that many Christian books only talk about the relationship between the individual and God. If we think too highly of ourselves and leave the church, the result will be a misunderstanding of the Bible at the least, and at worst, our future.